On episode 260 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, I discuss meal timing. What is the best eating program for you? You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/260.
Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go.
It seems to be a question that comes up time and time again in different places, different emails, talking to different people about eating and about when to eat. And I wanted to do an episode on that. And the questions come up a couple times with folks in the Facebook group. If you're not a part of the Facebook group, you really should consider joining. It's a great group of folks. I post a little bit of material here and there, kind of to keep people motivated. We have our weekly questions, daily questions, things like that. I'm on there. That's if you want to actually have a conversation with me on any of the social media platforms, the Facebook group is really probably the best place to do that. So you can go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group and join us there. It's like I said, it's a pretty good group. Lots of times pretty good dialogue. Just a good group of people. And, it's a great place if you have some questions for me. And I've gotten this question a few times over the last year or so. And it comes up because everybody seems to have their own feelings about this. And, there's the people that believe you should be eating multiple times a day. There are people who are into intermittent fasting and extended fasts. And then there's kind of everything in between. And so I wanted to kind of, rather than answer one question or another question, because it just seemed too much opinion comes out when I try to do that, I wanted to just talk about them holistically, when you should be eating and when you should not be eating, and why one eating program might work for you, whereas another one will not. Okay. So to kind of get this whole thing started, I view eating windows as kind of like a continuum, and it's much like the political debate. You're going to find people on one side or you're going to find people on the other side, and you very seldom find people who can actually look at the whole thing and figure out and pick and choose pieces of each one. They just tend to gravitate towards one side or the other. And there's some reasons for that, both for the political reasons and, again, for your eating reasons. So let's kind of look at this continuum, and then I'll kind of start talking about afterwards why one might work better for you than the other and why you would consider it. So when we look at the eating continuum, there's the folks that say you should be eating 6 small meals all day long. So spacing your meals out. So basically what you're trying to do is make sure that you're never really super, super hungry. And for a lot of people, that probably makes a lot of sense. Okay, then there's the folks that believe you should eat 3 good square meals, and then you should effectively kind of supplement those meals around your workout. So you want to make sure you're getting, some carbs right before a workout. Then after your workout, you want to get some more carbs and some protein to load those muscles back. And like I said, for some people, I think that would make quite a bit of sense. Then there's the folks that say, no, you eat 3 square meals and that's it. No snacking, nothing else, just those 3 meals. And they're perfectly fine in the way that they're thinking. Go further, there's folks that say, no, intermittent fasting is probably a better way to do this. And there's 2 styles of intermittent fasting that are fairly popular now. There's one where you basically have an eating window of 6 to 8 hours per day. So you'll go maybe 16 hours without eating, and then you'll go 8 hours of eating. And during that 8 hours is when you have all of your meals. And there's a lot of reasons that might be appropriate for you. Then again, people question whether you would do the 8 hours at night, so you skip dinner, or do you skip breakfast? And, again, there's arguments on both sides for that. The other type of intermittent fasting is when you fast basically 5 and 2, which basically means that on 5 days you eat fairly regularly whenever you feel like it, and then for 2 days you basically are trying to fast. And most of the time when people are doing these 5 and 2s, the 2s are not really true fasts. They're just very, very low calorie days. So they might eat 500 calories on those low calorie days, and then they're going to eat regular amounts of food for their 5 regular eating days. And so, and there are people that will do both 2 days in a row, or they just intermingle them in the week. And, finding the one that works for you is a lot of trial and error there. And then finally, there's the extended fast folks. And these are the folks that will try to go on a fast, and that fast can last anywhere from 24, 36 hours to as many as I've heard, 30 days. And sometimes these fasts involve, taking in bone broth or water. They're always making sure that they're getting their electrolytes and things like that, because there are some things that just burning your own body fat, you're going to still need from a nutritional perspective. And so people pay attention to that. And, as I get into this, I'll kind of give you some ideas of resources to try to help you pick which one of these might be the appropriate eating program for you. Now, when we talk about eating programs, most of the time when people are doing this, they're not necessarily just saying they're doing it for a health perspective. Most people are going at this to lose weight. With that said, when you want to lose weight, you have to recognize that a lot of weight loss revolves around your hormones. And if you're not managing your hormones properly, you're really, what you're trying to do is just not going to work. The weight loss is just not going to happen if your hormones are not where they need to be. So that is something that as you go through these eating programs, you have to find the one that works for your profile, works for you. Typically, when people are trying to manage their weight, they're trying to manage their insulin, because we've all developed insulin resistance at some level, I believe, because of the foods we're subjected to, the processed foods, the sugary foods. Our bodies are producing a lot more insulin. We're eating a lot more sugar, and as a result, we're storing a lot more fat than we ever have in the history of man. And so in each of these profiles of how you would eat, they're all established basically around trying to manage something like that. So when I say that there's the people that want to eat multiple meals per day, what they're trying to do is they're basically saying, okay, we don't want a spike in blood sugar, because a spike in blood sugar means a spike in insulin, and that insulin's going to then store up the extra sugar, and it's going to store it. Whereas if we're just eating just enough each meal to kind of get ourselves going for the next hour or so, then basically we're not giving our body any need to spike. We're not giving our body any need to make us overly hungry. So we just keep taking in these small meals, and they sustain us throughout the day. The folks that are down on that basically say, well, you're never giving your digestive tract an opportunity to rest and recover. Although most people, they are fasting at night anyway. So they are. But so again, a perfectly legitimate eating program that can work for a lot of people is having multiple meals per day, making sure that you're never hungry, but just making sure that you're still maintaining a good calorie balance, not eating too much during the course of a day based on what your activity level is. Okay, then there's the timed eating that's timed around workouts. And this one I like a lot. I do believe that there's a lot of science behind how you can restore your glycogen, or making sure that you have enough glycogen for a hard workout. But this really comes down to that thing. Are you working out really hard? Are you trying to build muscle? Is a 1 or 2% difference in the quality of your growth going to really matter? So if you can imagine someone who's trying to put on 30 pounds of muscle, 1 or 2% of that is a fairly good amount of muscle. Whereas if you are saying I'm going to put on 5 pounds, might be putting on 5 pounds of muscle if I do this program, 1% or 2%, it's going to be hardly noticeable. So being really strict and saying I have to get this protein in after the workout within that window, again, I don't know that it's going to be the best use of your time. I think you're giving yourself a lot of extra stress and probably not getting as much benefit for that as you would think. If you're getting enough protein, you're getting enough nutrients, your body knows how to use those things in the function of your day. Our ancestors didn't have to time their meals. In many cases, they did, because as soon as they killed an animal, they were eating the organ meat of that animal. pretty much straight away. And so, yes, they probably were getting good protein right after a hard work, but then they hauled that animal home and they had a nice meal for the next day or two, and then they were back at it. So, I think when you look at this, the meal timing around workouts is probably going to make you feel better about it. But I don't know that there's going to be a huge amount of benefit that you're going to see unless you're really, really working towards some elite athletic endeavor. And then by all means, try to find the eating timing that works best for you. So then we move on to the 3 strict, these are your meals, and just suck it up, buttercup. That's a very strict, a very disciplinary way of eating. But if you're that kind of person that has to be all in, there's no halfway for you. You're either on or you're not on, and you just know that you don't need to snack. And if you get yourself in the habit of snacking, it's going to create a problem for you. But you have your meals prepared, and you know when you need to eat them, and you know the nutrition in them. By all means, you can stick to a very strict program. It's really about your discipline and your approach and how you feel about things. And you have to know yourself. And that's why, again, with all of these eating programs, there's a lot of self-awareness that comes from this so that you can know which one best suits you. So now we'll get into intermittent fasting. And I'm not going to get too much into the 5x2 one because I've never really experimented with that a whole lot. But I do know, for a lot of people, it's going to work. I have used the 16-8. I use it quite a bit. There's quite a few mornings that I'm not hungry and we'll skip breakfast. But then I want to preface that when I say, well, I'm not hungry. And well, why am I not hungry? Well, I'm not hungry because I eat low carb, high fat. I am in ketosis most of the time. So skipping a meal for me is no big deal because my body will go ahead and just draw on my body fat because I'm fat adapted, and my body does a very good job of doing that. So my blood sugar is not going to tank for me not eating a breakfast, and my metabolism is not going to tank because typically I get up in the morning and that's when I'm doing my workouts. There's no opportunity for my metabolism to just settle down into you're in starvation mode. Let's start, tearing you up. That doesn't happen for me because I've gotten myself into a fat burning mode. Now, if you're more of a sugar burner and you don't want to give up your sugar and you don't want to give that up, then this end of the spectrum, the fasting and the intermittent fasting, they're just not going to work for you very well. You're probably going to do a lot better on the other end of the spectrum, eating maybe the 6 small meals per day, because your body is not going to like you taking periods of time and not eating, and it's going to make you want to eat sugar, crave sugar, because that's your fuel source. I don't crave fat because I've got enough of it on my body that my body can just draw from me when it needs to. And so, if you want to get into that kind of lifestyle, and I call it a lifestyle because, there's all types of ketonic diets. It's kind of crazy to sit there and say, there's Atkins or South Beach, or which one are you on? It's like, I'm on the food diet. I eat good quality food. I eat more fat than carbs, and as a result, my body has adapted to use fat as a fuel source. And I measure the ketones, so I keep up with it. I know when I'm in ketosis, I know what that feels like, and I also do measure it. So, I'm there. So the 16-8 works very well for me. I typically skip breakfast, and that's a preference thing. There's been some folks going around, the science is somewhat, it's better to skip dinner and not skip breakfast for all these different physiological reasons. I find it just more convenient to skip breakfast because if my wife's here and we're going to have a meal together, it's typically dinner. And so if I'm skipping dinner, that's kind of odd in that I would eat breakfast, I'd eat my lunch, and then I would, I wouldn't eat after lunchtime. And if I did that and it came home, it would just be very odd to sit at the table while my wife's eating dinner and just not eat. So I typically will eat dinner, and then come around and around 1 or 2 o'clock the next day, I'll have my lunch, and then I may even snack on some nuts during the middle of that period between lunch and dinner. Just depends on my day and my energy levels, or basically how much work I've done in the gym. Some days I want to have a little bit more protein and carbs than other days, but again, my carbs are very low. So when I say I want some carbs, I'm literally talking about less than 30 grams of carbs in a day. So we're not talking a ton. And then there's the extended fasting, and I've never really done the extended fasting. I know it's becoming more and more popular. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to listen to the episode with Dr. Jason Fung and Jimmy Moore. They did the Complete Guide to Fasting. It's an excellent book. It has a lot of great information in it. It has a program in it to kind of help you get started. They give you all kinds of advice on how to do that. So I'm not going to go into much depth here, other than to say if you are going to go the extended fasting route, you'll probably be more successful if you're already in ketosis before you start. In most cases, folks report that the first 2 or 3 days are the hardest. So, Dr. Fung doesn't believe a 36-hour fast, or a 3-day fast even is really all that valuable to us beyond just, it's valuable from a apoptosis state, meaning your body's repairing itself. It's doing some cleaning. It's doing the things it needs to do. So there's some health benefits to fasting, but he doesn't believe you're getting the extended insulin resistance repair that you would get if you went on an extended fast. And he said, plus, you've gotten past the hard part after day 3. Why would you just go ahead now and stop and make each of your fasts so hard? Whereas you can use the fact that now you are truly fat adapted, you're burning body fat for fuel. Why wouldn't you just use that, since you're now in a comfortable state, to go a little bit further? And like I said, some people will go as long as 30 days. The types of food that you take in then vary, but just understand that there are some electrolytes and things that you'll have to focus on getting during that period of time. And it's just self-awareness. And all of them report when they do these fasts, they know it's time to come off the fast when their body temperature starts to change. They start feeling cold. And so that's kind of that trigger for them. Once they start feeling cold, that it's time for them to go ahead and get out of that fast. And then there's a protocol that you need to take. When you haven't eaten for days, you can't just go in and order or eat the regular food that you would eat. You need to have a plan for how you're going to reintroduce food to your body, because it's just not as simple as saying, okay, now I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. So that's kind of the continuum. And where you fit on that continuum is going to matter based on lifestyle. It's going to matter whether you're a sugar burner or a fat burner. It's going to matter of kind of some of the things that you want to accomplish. So if you're training to put on muscle and you want to make sure that you're getting the protein in those eating windows, and that's something that's important to you, it's going to matter if you're on a certain program. One of the listeners, Brian, he's doing this fitness contest. I mean, not fitness, but a physique contest. And he has to use their products, and I'm sure their products have some sugar in them. And he's using them before and after his workouts. And, that's all good and fine. I've read the labels on them. They're okay stuff. But because of that, it's like, he probably wouldn't do well on an intermittent fast based on what he's trying to accomplish. He's still losing weight. So, for me, again, to say that one program matters over somebody else's program, well, that really isn't the answer. The answer is you have to find the one that fits you, and you're going to be on that continuum somewhere. Now, just because you pick an eating program now doesn't mean that won't change. So there may be a point in your life where you would say, I'm going to give this intermittent fasting a go. But before I do it, I want to know, okay, well, to do it, I probably need to be more fat burning. So you may need to change what you eat, kind of get yourself more into the fat burning mode with a low carb, high fat food, get through that little carb, problem, because, when you take your body off of carbs and you try to do that switch, your body's not all that efficient at doing that. So they call it keto flu, but I prefer to call it carb withdrawal. And once your body gets to a point where it can start burning ketones and using ketones, you'll feel better. And then you're more in a suitable framework to start doing intermittent fasting. But to just go into intermittent fasting as a sugar burner, you might find that much more difficult to do than you would have otherwise. And if you're a sugar burner, you might actually find it easier to skip dinner than to skip breakfast. That's just another little caveat of that. I've skipped dinner and gone to bed hungry, and I was fine, but I woke up in the morning starving. Skipping breakfast always seems to have caused me to eat a bigger lunch, which would effectively be breakfast once you're breaking your fast. But I would always end up eating more if I skipped breakfast. And that's one of the things I tell you, don't skip breakfast. It's such an important meal. Well, it is an important meal if you're a sugar burner. So understanding yourself, understanding your fuel systems and how that works will help you pick a spot on the continuum. And then based on where you are in the continuum, you may change. Jimmy Moore's a perfect example of that. When Jimmy was trying to lose his weight, he started getting into the fat burning mode. He got into intermittent fasting. Now he's very much into these extended fasts because he's really trying to do some things to get his insulin resistance, because his body just won't give up the body fat and get him down to the weight the body composition he really feels he wants to be. But he's perfectly healthy. He's got great health markers, but he's experimenting with the fasting, the extended fasting, to see if he can get his body to kind of shift, to change, to get off of this effective plateau that he's been on. So again, long story to an eating window question. So I think you understand why I say I couldn't answer this in any sensible way in a forum at just one point in time. I can give little snippets, but for the most part, most of those snippets sound a lot more like I'm trying to give advice or opinion. And the reality is I don't have one now. I've eaten in many of these different eating windows. I've tried almost all of them, except, like I said, the extended fast. I understand the reason for each one of them, and I pick and choose the ones that best fit my life and my needs at that point in time. And you can do the same. As always, I wanted to take just a moment to thank you for being a part of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast. This really wouldn't be the program that it is without you here with me. And I really do appreciate every time that I'm on with you and we're able to have these conversations. I really appreciate the interaction on the Facebook group. I appreciate the messages, the emails. I read every one. I really do want to be here to help you on your health and fitness journey. And, I am going to be doing the Spartan this weekend, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Hope I don't injure myself, but I will be doing the Spartan up in Chicago area. It's actually not Chicago. I mean, when you look at where it is, it's actually Wisconsin. I guess they call it Chicago because that's the closest thing they could call it, but it's pretty far away from Chicago. I actually won't even be near Chicago, to be honest with you. But I'm going to be up in that area, and one listener reached out and said, "Hey, if you're in the area, look me up." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well, this time I didn't leave enough free time to do anything like that, but I am going to be doing something kind of interesting in July." Up in New London, Connecticut, which what I understand is kind of a very central location in the New England area. But I'm going to be traveling up there and spending some time doing Keto Fest. And, that's basically a festival that's being put on by a guy named Richard and a guy named Carl. And they do the podcast Two Keto Dudes. Really great podcast that just blew up out of nowhere. Ketosis is kind of a big deal now. A lot of people are interested in the topic, and these guys cover it very, very, very well. And they do it from experience because they've both done a lot of great things for their health using ketosis. And just two funny guys I'm really looking forward to meeting in person and having a good conversation. But they've been kind enough to let me be a part of it, and I'll actually be doing some fitness classes there at Keto Fest. So looking forward to putting on some classes. So you can look this up. You can go to ketofest.com and you can see it's on the 14th through the 16th, and the classes are on the 15th. They'll be outdoors, so hopefully we're not getting any rain. But it's a good opportunity for you to learn something about ketosis. If you're interested, you can pay for a day pass, or you can pay for the whole weekend. It's like I said, it's going to be a really, really cool program. I'm really looking forward to being up there. But that said, I'm going to be in the area, and so I think we're free for our own dinners. And so if you guys are in the area, maybe you can meet us, meet my wife. We can have dinner, hang out. that'd be totally cool for me. So if you're in that area, go ahead and join the group and let me know. Just send me a message and we'll connect that way, and maybe we'll do a little meetup or something up there if you guys are interested. Anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Phoebe Lapine and we discuss her book, The Wellness Project. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.